It is my duty pursuant to Standing Order 38 to inform the House that the questions to be raised tonight at the time of adjournment are as follows. Order 1. The Honourable Member for Beauport-Limoilou, Public Service and Procurement. 2. Order. The Honourable Member for Edmonton West, Public Services and Procurement. 3. The Honourable Member for Calgary Rocky Ridge, Ethics. La question est la suivante.
The question is the following one. Mr. Strahl.
Moved that the House agree that the Kinder Morgan Trans Mountain Expansion Project A has social license to proceed, B is critical to the Canadian economy and the creation of thousands of jobs, C is safe and environmentally sound as recognized and accepted by the National Energy Board, D is under federal jurisdiction with respect to approval and regulation, and E should be constructed with the continued support of the federal government as demonstrated by the Prime Minister personally announcing the approval of the project. All those in favour of the motion will please rise.
Mr. Scheer.
Mr. Scheer.
Mr. Nicholson.
Mr. Nicholson.
Ms. Finley.
Ms. Finley.
Ms. Rampal.
Mr.
Poilievre.
Mr. Poilievre.
Ms. Leach.
Ms. Leach.
Monsieur Blaney-Bellechasse, les Chemins-Lévis.
Monsieur Blaney-Bellechasse, les Chemins-Lévis.
Mr. O'Toole.
Mr. O'Toole.
Ms. Raitt.
Ms. Raitt.
Ms. Bergen.
Ms. Bergen.
Monsieur Lebel.
Monsieur Lebel.
Ms. Watts.
Ms. Watts.
Mr. Chong.
Mr. Chong.
Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Van Loan.
Mr. Van Loan.
Mrs. Gallant.
Mrs. Gallant.
Mr. Tilson.
Mr. Tilson.
Mr. O'Brien.
Mr. O'Brien.
Monsieur Clark.
Monsieur Clark.
Mrs. Block.
Mrs. Block.
Mr. Bazan.
Mr. Bazan.
Mrs. McLeod, Kamloops, Thompson, Caribou.
Mrs. McLeod, Kamloops, Thompson, Caribou.
Mr. Clement.
Mr. Clement.
Mr. Workington.
Mr. Workington.
Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown.
Mrs. Vecchio.
Mrs. Vecchio.
Monsieur Deltel.
Monsieur Deltel.
Mrs. Wong.
Mrs. Wong.
Ms. Gladue.
Ms. Gladue.
Monsieur Reyes.
Mr. Reyes.
Mr. Bessard.
Mr. Bessard.
Mr. Sorensen.
Mr. Sorensen.
Monsieur Lauzon, Stormont, Dundas, South Glengarry.
Mr. Lozon, Stormont, Dundas, South Glengarry.
Mr. Lukiski.
Mr. Lukiski.
Mr. Miller, Bruce Gray, Owen Sound.
Mr. Miller, Bruce Gray, Owen Sound.
Mr. Trost.
Mr. Trost.
Mr. Albrecht.
Mr. Albrecht.
Monsieur Paulus.
Mr. Paulus.
Mr. Allison.
Mr. Allison.
Mr. Carey.
Mr. Carey.
Mr. Kent.
Mr. Kent.
Mr. McKenzie.
Mr. McKenzie.
Mr. Sweet.
Mr. Sweet.
Madame Boucher.
Madame Boucher.
Mr. Boultaïf.
Mr. Boultaïf.
Mr. Reed.
Mr. Reed.
Mr. Warwa.
Mr. Warwa.
Mr. Calkins.
Mr. Calkins.
Monsieur Gould.
Mr. Gould.
Mr. Lake.
Mr. Lake.
Mr. Shipley.
Mr. Shipley.
Mr. Van Kesteren.
Van Kesteren.
Mr. Dreeshen.
Mr. Dreeshen.
Mr. Lobb.
Mr. Lobb.
Mr. Richards.
Mr. Richards.
Monsieur Généreux.
Mr. Généreux.
Mr. Sopak.
Mr. Sopak.
Mr. Albus.
Mr. Albus.
Mr. Zimmer.
Mr. Zimmer.
Mr. McGuire.
Mr. McGuire.
Mr. Yurdega.
Mr. Yurdega.
Mr. Falk.
Mr. Falk.
Mr. Barlow.
Mr. Barlow.
Mr. Arnold.
Mr. Arnold.
Mr. Eglinski.
Mr. Eglinski.
Mr. Cooper.
Mr. Cooper.
Mr. Jennis.
Mr. Jennis.
Monsieur Godin.
Monsieur Godin.
Mr. Stanton.
Mr. Stanton.
Ms. Harder.
Ms. Harder.
Mr. Kelly.
Mr.
Mr.
Kelly.
Kitchen.
Mr. Kitchen.
Mr. Kimmich.
Mr. Kimmich.
Mr. Macaulay, Edmonton West.
Mr. Macaulay, Edmonton West.
Mr. Leipert.
Mr. Leipert.
Mr. Nader.
Mr. Nader.
Mr. Nuttall.
Mr. Nuttall.
Mr. Soroya.
Soroya.
Mr. Shields.
Mr. Shields.
Mrs. Stubbs.
Mrs. Stubbs.
Mr. Vierson.
Mr. Vierson.
Mrs. Wagenthal.
Mrs. Wagenthal.
Mr. Waugh.
Mr. Waugh.
Mr. Weber.
Mr. Weber.
Mr. Motz.
Mr. Motz.
Mr. Benson.
Mr. Benson.
Mrs. Kuzi.
Mrs. Kuzi.
Opposed to the motion will please rise. All those in
We're still in favor. We're still on the...
Okay, all those in favor of the motion?
Monsieur Trudeau.
Monsieur Trudeau.
Mr. Hare.
Mr.
Ms.
Hare.
Qualtrough.
Ms.
Mr.
Qualtrough.
Sajan.
Mr. Sajan.
Mrs. Philpott.
Mrs. Philpott.
Mr. Goodale.
Mr. Goodale.
Mr. Champagne.
Mr. Champagne.
Ms. Freeland.
Ms. Freeland.
Monsieur Leblanc.
Monsieur Leblanc.
Ms. Chager.
Ms. Chager.
Mr. Morneau.
Mr. Morneau.
Mr. Bryson.
Mr. Bryson.
Ms. Wilson-Raybould.
Ms. Wilson-Raybould.
Mr. Macaulay Cardigan.
Mr. Macaulay Cardigan.
Madame Leboutillier.
Madame Leboutillier.
Madame Bibeau.
Madame Bibeau.
Mr. Hussain.
Mr. Hussain.
Ms. McKenna.
Ms. McKenna.
Mr. Baines.
Mr. Baines.
Ms. Haidu.
Ms. Haidu.
Ms. Bennett.
Ms. Bennett.
Ms. Mahichuk.
Ms. Mahichuk.
Mr. Casey Cumberland Colchester.
Mr. Casey Cumberland Colchester.
Mr. Easter.
Mr. Easter.
Mr. McKay.
Mr. McKay.
Mr. Nault.
Mr. Nault.
Ms. Groh.
Ms. Groh.
Mrs. Romanado.
Mrs. Romanado.
Monsieur Lauzon, Argenteuil, La Petite Nation.
Monsieur Laujean, Argenteuil, La Petite Nation.
Monsieur Rioux.
Monsieur Rioux.
Monsieur Lightbound.
Monsieur Lightbound.
Mr. Holland.
Mr. Holland.
Mr. Casey Charlottetown.
Casey Charlottetown.
Mr. Leslie.
Mr. Leslie.
Ms. Gould.
Ms. Gould.
Ms. Monsef.
Ms. Monsef.
Monsieur Rodriguez.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Mr. Sohi.
Mr. Sohi.
Ms. Duncan Etobicoke
Ms.
North.
Duncan Etobicoke North.
Monsieur Duclos.
Monsieur Duclos.
Ms. Kira.
Ms. Kira.
Mrs. Cesar Chavan.
Mrs. Cesar Chauvin.
Monsieur Cormier.
Monsieur Cormier.
Mr. Wilkinson.
Mr. Wilkinson.
Mr. Lametti.
Monsieur Lametti.
Mr. Cosner.
Mr. Cosner.
Ms. Jones.
Ms. Jones.
Mr. Bagnall.
Mr. Bagnall.
Monsieur Paradis.
Mr. Paradis.
Mr. McGinty.
Mr. McGinty.
Mr. Scarpellegia.
Mr. Scarpellegia.
Mr. Sims.
Mr. Sims.
Ms. Ratansi.
Ms. Ratansi.
Mr. Jesnevsky.
Mr. Jesnevsky.
Monsieur Shifki.
Monsieur Shifke.
Mr. Verani.
Mr. Verani.
Ms. Goldsmith-Jones.
Goldsmith-Jones.
Mr. Fillmore.
Mr. Fillmore.
Mr. Algabra.
Mr. Algabra.
Mr. De Courcy.
Mr. De Courcy.
Ms. Rudd.
Ms. Rudd.
Mr. Duguid.
Mr. Duguid.
Monsieur Millerville-Marie, le Sud-Ouest et le dessert.
Monsieur Miller-Ville-Marie, le Sud-Ouest.
Mr. Lamoureux. Monsieur McKinnon-Gatineau.
Monsieur McKinnon-Gatineau.
Mrs. McCrimmon.
Mrs. McCrimmon.
Mr. Vaughn.
Mr. Vaughn.
Mr. Mendicino.
Mr. Mendicino.
Mr. Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Monsieur Poisson.
Mr. Poisson.
Ms. Young.
Ms. Young.
Mr. Pesky-Solido.
Mr. Pesky-Solido.
Madame Mendez.
Madame Mendez.
Mr. Oliphant.
Mr. Oliphant.
Monsieur Dubourg.
Monsieur Dubourg.
Mr. Aldag.
Mr. Aldag.
Ms. Alaslev.
Ms. Alaslev.
Mr. Amos.
Mr. Amos.
Mr. Alain de Sangary.
Fernand de Sangary.
Monsieur Arsenault.
Monsieur Arsenault.
Mr. Aria.
Mr. Area.
Monsieur Ayoub.
Monsieur Ayoub.
Mr. Badaway.
Mr. Badaway.
Monsieur Baylis.
Mr. Baylis.
Mr. Chan.
Mr. Chan.
Mr. Biddle.
Mr. Biddle.
Mr. Boissonneau.
Mr. Boissonneau.
Mr. Boisio.
Mr. Bosco.
Mr. Bettina.
Mr. Bertino.
Monsieur Breton.
Monsieur Breton.
Mr. Chen.
Mr.
Ms.
Chen.
Dabroussen.
Ms. Dabroussen.
Ms. Damoff.
Ms. Damoff.
Ms. Dillon.
Ms. Dillon.
Monsieur Diorio.
Monsieur Diorio.
Monsieur Drouin.
Monsieur Drouin.
Ms. Tassi.
Ms. Tassi.
Ms. Jarowitz.
Ms. Zarowitz.
Mr. Essassi.
Mr. Sassi.
Monsieur Elkouri.
Monsieur Elkouri.
Mr. Ellis.
Mr. Ellis.
Mr. Aelfson.
Mr. Aelfson.
Monsieur Fergus.
Monsieur Fergus.
Mr. Finnegan.
Mr. Finnegan.
Mr. Fisher.
Mr. Fisher.
Mr. Fonseca.
Mr.
Mr.
Fonseca.
Fragiscatos.
Mr. Fragiscatos.
Mr. Fraser West Nova.
Mr. Fraser West Nova.
Mr. Fraser Central Nova.
Mr. Fraser Central.
Mr. Garrettson.
Mr. Garrett.
Mr. Greywall.
Mr. Gray.
Correction, Mr. Fewer.
Mr. Fewer.
Mr. Greywall.
Mr. Graywall.
Mr. Hardy.
Mr. Hardy.
Monsieur Graham.
Monsieur Graham.
Mr. Harvey.
Mr.
Mr. Housefather.
Mr. Housefather.
Monsieur Yacono.
Monsieur Yacono.
Mrs. Jordan.
Mrs. Jordan.
Mr. Johari.
Mr. Johari.
Mr. Kong.
Mr. Kong.
Miss Khalid.
Miss Khalid.
Monsieur Lefebvre.
Monsieur Lefebvre.
Monsieur Lemieux.
Monsieur Lemieux.
Mr. Levitt.
Mr. Levitt.
Mrs. Lockhart.
Mrs. Lockhart.
Mr. Long.
Mr. Long.
Mr. Longfield.
Mr. Longfield.
Mr. Maloney.
Mr. Maloney.
Monsieur Massé Avignon la Métis Matane Matapédia.
Monsieur Massé Avignon, la métisse Matane Matapédia.
Mr. May Cambridge.
Mr. May Cambridge.
Mr. McDonald.
Mr. McDonald.
Mr. McKinnon Coquitlam Port Coquitlam.
Mr. McKinnon, Coquitlam, Port Coquitlam.
Mr. McLeod Northwest Territories.
Mr. McLeod, Northwest Territories.
Madame Nessif.
Madame Nessif.
Ms. O'Connell.
Ms. O'Connell.
Mr. Oliver.
Mr. Oliver.
Mr. O'Regan.
Mr. O'Regan.
Mr. Peterson.
Mr. Peterson.
Monsieur Picard.
Monsieur Picard.
Monsieur Robillard.
Monsieur Robillard.
Mr. Rumi.
Mr. Rumi.
Miss Sahota.
Miss Sahota.
Mr. Saini.
Mr. Saini.
Monsieur Sanson.
Monsieur
Mr.
Sanson.
Sanga.
Mr. Saini.
Mr. Sarai.
Mr. Sarai.
Mrs. Schultz.
Mrs. Schultz.
Monsieur Serre.
Monsieur Serre.
Madame Shanahan.
Madame Shanahan.
Mr. Sheehan.
Mr.
Mr.
Sheehan.
Sidhu, Mission Mastery, Fraser Canyon.
Mr. Sidhu, Mission Matsui, Fraser
Miss
Canyon.
Sidhu, Brampton South.
Miss Sidhu, Brampton
Mr.
South.
Secan.
Mr. Secan.
Mr. Sorbera.
Mr. Sorbera.
Mr. Tabera.
Mr. Tabera.
Mr. Tam.
Mr. Tam.
Monsieur Vandal.
Monsieur
Ms.
Van-
Vandenbell.
Ms. Vandenbell.
Mr. Whalen.
Mr. Whalen.
Mrs. Zahid.
Mrs. Zahid.
Mr. Rota.
Mr. Rota.
Madame Fortier.
Madame Fortier.
Madame Lambropoulos.
Madame Lambropoulos.
Ms. Ing.
Ms. Ing.
All those opposed to the motion will please rise.
Monsieur Mulcair.
Monsieur Mulcair.
Madame Laverdière.
Madame
Mr.
Laverdière.
Rankin.
Mr. Rankin.
Ms. Duncan Edmonton Strathcona.
Ms. Duncan, Edmonton, Strathcona.
Mr. Christopherson.
Mr. Christopherson.
Madame Brosseau.
Madame Brosseau.
Mr. Davies.
Mr. Davies.
Mr. Cullen.
Mr. Cullen.
Mr. Donnelly.
Mr. Donnelly.
Mr. Massey Windsor West.
Mr. Massey, Windsor
Mr.
West.
Garrison.
Mr. Garrison.
Madame Boutin-Sweet.
Madame Boutin-Sweet.
Ms. Matheson.
Ms. Matheson.
Monsieur Dubé.
Monsieur Dubé.
Madame Quash.
Madame Quash.
Monsieur Dussault.
Monsieur Dussault.
Monsieur Boulris.
Monsieur Boulris.
Ms. Kwan.
Ms. Kwan.
Mr. Blakey.
Mr. Blakey.
Madame Moore.
Madame Moore.
Mr. Stewart.
Mr. Stewart.
Mr. Duval.
Mr. Duval.
Monsieur Aubin.
Monsieur Aubin.
Monsieur Nantel.
Monsieur Nantel.
Ms. Malcolmson.
Ms. Malcolmson.
Monsieur Saganache.
Monsieur Saganache.
Ms. Jolibois.
Ms. Jolibois.
Madame Sans Souci.
Madame Sans
Monsieur
Souci.
Choquette.
Monsieur Choquette.
Madame Trudel.
Madame Trudel.
Ms. Benson.
Ms. Benson.
Mr. Julian.
Mr.
Mr.
Julian.
Stetsky.
Mr. Stetsky.
Mr. Cannings.
Mr. Cannings.
Mr. Johns.
Mr. Johns.
Mr. McGregor.
Mr. McGregor.
Ms. Blaney, North Island, Powell
Ms.
River.
Blaney, North Island, Powell River.
Ms. Hardcastle.
Ms. Hardcastle.
Madame Hughes.
Madame Hughes.
Monsieur Barcelou Duval.
Monsieur Barcelou Duval.
Monsieur Plamondon.
Monsieur Plamondon.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie.
Monsieur Marcille.
Monsieur Marcille.
Madame Posé.
Madame Posé.
Monsieur Fortin.
Monsieur Fortin.
Monsieur Thériault.
Monsieur Thériault.
Monsieur Beaulieu.
Monsieur Beaulieu.
Monsieur Boudria.
Monsieur Boudria.
Ms. May Saanich Gulf Islands.
Ms. May Saanich Gulf Islands.
Mr. Beach.
Mr. Beach.
Ms. Fry.
Ms. Fry. Yeas pour 252, 252. Nays contre 51, 51.
Declare the motion carried. Pursuant to common law allowed, the honourable member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan is rising on a point of order. Order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Minister for Indigenous Affairs is not a new member. I think she's familiar with the rules that say that if a member enters the House while the Speaker is reading the question, the member is not able to vote. The member still endeavoured to vote, so I ask that her vote be stricken from the record.
if the honourable member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan, was listening carefully, he would have noticed that I was reporting to the members what the topics would be for the adjournment debate this evening when the honourable minister walked into the chamber. I had not started posing the question at that time. Order. Come on. It's fair to ask.
Pursuant to order made on Tuesday, May